Brendan Browne. I'm the Director of Education, CEO of the Toronto Catholic District School Board, which is City of Toronto, Canada. In Canada, our school system, Catholic school, sounds maybe strange in an American context, but as a result of constitutional compromise in 1867 in Canada, publicly funded education is French English, French Catholic, English public, and then English Catholic. So there's 4 different school boards that are all publicly funded, and anyone can go to any of them in Canada. It's kind of a holdover from the Constitution. So when we say Toronto Catholic, there's also Toronto Public, there's also the French Catholic and French Public. And why that's important is because we are in some ways in a healthy competition for students. We're funded per pupil, so our enrollment dictates our budget. And when students can move to different public systems, that impacts how we think about public confidence. What do we do to help achieve high adoption of the tools? So first of all, we want to make sure that we're an educational organization, that everything is connected somehow to what the goals are for our multi-year strategic plan. So good vendors for us understand what our goals are, what are our key commitments that we've made, and how does their product and their support help us to achieve that. So number one, how is it affecting student learning? Is whatever the product is, no matter what it's based on, if it's very obviously academic or maybe very obviously business enterprise, how does it connect with our core mandates? That's hugely important for us. We need our vendors to listen to what we need. And ultimately, are you going to make our life easier? So as a good vendor listens to what our needs are, not telling us what we need, but actually listening and then helping us to come up with solutions. An example of that is they help us to solve problems that we have, and they help us to get there. So in that listening, understanding what our needs are, I give an example of a hardware contract that we had. We had 2 competing bids, 2 vendors competing, both very similar products. We had a problem of practice in terms of getting it across 200 schools. So they were solution-based. One company said, we're gonna upload all your applications, get it all ready to go and deliver it. That's easy. Like for us, that makes our life easier. So helping with that is certainly important. Lastly is with whatever the product is, a commitment to the hours that are needed to help us with transition. So we are limited in our resources. We're always stretched within publicly funded education. And if we have a vendor who can commit folks from their team that can give us the hours to be thoughtful about how we're doing transitions, whether it's on the ground in our classrooms, whether it's with our business side of the organization, that sort of partnership helps to make it land as best we can. So those are some of the things that we're looking for. And I mean, ultimately you want it to integrate in ways in which it's seamless and effortless. So when we have that partnership, when you've got the experts from the vendors helping us on the ground, that really helps us to move and get adoption rates up. As a leader in the organization, I know that what gets measured is what gets success. So when I am paying attention to and being thoughtful about what our goals are, and we're following up on our metrics and we're looking at how it's going, but it's a focus for us, you do see the rates go up and improve and usage goes up. The metrics that we use now and how they might differ a little bit, one that wouldn't differ would be a metric that we would continue to use would be impact on student achievement. That's always our number one, no matter what your product is this going to help teachers to be better teachers, but so that students are learning? Or is this a program that's going to help kids, is it creating more time for teachers so it's helping, but ultimately, is it helping students learn? The second thing that we are definitely seeing more of and more recently is that integration efficiency. So our different platforms need to talk to each other in seamless ways. We had a launch of something recently in which great product and great SIS system. And the testing that was done before, we tested and tested and tested. And then when the integration came at launch, it was difficult. And once that trust is broken, that's really, really hard for us to be thoughtful about. So that's really important for us in integration. And the last one I would say would be the commitment to data and privacy protection. Our information is student information. We're talking about children's school records, their addresses, but also their personal health information, like a lot of really important and very data that we need to keep safe. So the scrutiny that's been increasing recently, especially with some of the breaches that have happened, other boards that have been close to us having been in a ransom situation, the lean-in ways in which we're protecting privacy and data is enormously important. For people coming into our sector, I think there's a humility in listening, to be taking the approach in that just because you've worked maybe in another school system doesn't mean that you understand the nuances and complexities of, we're an urban school system in Toronto, urban and suburban, but that might not translate to that rural community, and there are different complexities. So listening is really important, really understanding what the needs are, and I think that it really helps for a new vendor to really understand what the goals, their publicly stated goals are. What's their multi-year strategic plan? What are they trying to achieve as a system? And how is your product or your support going to help them to get closer to that? Because ultimately, any leader of an organization needs to keep focused on what our goals are, because that's what's measurable. If your product is taking us in a different direction, that's not helpful. So you need to know specifically what our needs are and be listening to that, and then understand how that fits in and that supports to move us forward. I think that Clever would bring, or any organization would bring to the table, their expertise and the work that they've done. But I also think that listening to what the needs of our needs are and understanding that sort of relationship, and a humility that we'll never pretend to have all the answers, and nor should our vendor. And that when we're going to work together effectively, there are great ways in which we're learning from each other. I could give a lot of examples of vendors that we've worked with that there's been this real sense of learning together, and all of a sudden we had a product, and something that we were working with, but then as we talked about our needs and what could be done, it really evolved into something quite unique. And that uniqueness, there can be a universality to it as well. So a vendor, is learning from the work that we're doing together, and then knows that that's something that they can use with other organizations as well.